Welcome to The Longer Game, the only show that's dedicated to the future of retail. We bring on real-life people in the retail industry. We talk about their experiences, we share their stories, we apply it to what's currently going on in the market, and we look towards the future of retail. You could say it's retail reimagined. My name is Michael Marr. I run a customized, done-for-you service agency called Cartology that helps brands win on Amazon. Now, while my expertise stems in the Amazon field, we bring on a wide array of guests because retail is expansive. You've got e-commerce. Yes, you've got marketplaces like Amazon. You've also got brick and mortar that is evolving. You've got logistics. You've got technology, finance. There are so many aspects to retail, and it's complicated. So we're here to bring you the entire story. Do you think that you have an interesting story and you'd like to tell it on the podcast? Then go to thelongergame.com and fill out a form to be a guest on the show today. You can catch The Longer Game on any social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thelongergame.com. We've got all awesome guests on this show, so that I will promise. Are you ready to hear more about the future of retail? Let's get down to business. Welcome, everybody, to The Longer Game, the podcast where we talk all about retail. And today on the show, we have a brand. Brands are the essence of retail because without brands, we don't have any products. And it's important to remember that. So I'd like to welcome Elliott, founder of Farmer Foodie. Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your brand, what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. As mentioned, my name's Allie, and I'm the founder and CEO of Farmer Foodie. And we make and sell deliciously memorable cashew parm products that are shelf-stable, sustainable, and free from dairy and gluten.
I love that you know exactly what you're going to say because that's so crucial. There's so many people who start a business, do something, and they're like having trouble describing what they do. And sometimes you feel like you have this elevator pitch that you have to have. But what is it that you do? Can you make it relatable so people understand and that it's very clear what you do? Donald Miller, I don't know if you're familiar with his work at all, huge marketing guy, just all about simplification. And so he's talked about in a slogan, 3 words is great, 4 is a little bit heavy, 5 is way too much. But you have to be clear on what you do. So and it depends upon what your brand name is. So like Farmer Foodie, okay, I think I know, but like tell me a little bit more about that. For myself, Cartology, you don't know what we do. So like I just say Amazon simplified. Maybe that intrigues people, that allows them to dig a little bit deeper. But like I love that you're intentional about what you say because sometimes people struggle and I'm like, you know what you do. You just need to practice rehearsing what it is that you're going to say and then say it.
Exactly. That is kind of my go-to introductory phrase or sentence. But Farmer Foodie actually was initially created by me as my plant-forward food blog when I was the education director on an organic farm in upstate New York for 4 years. So think farmers, sustainable agriculture, sustainable products, healthy, dairy-free, that kind of stuff. And then foodie, somebody that enjoys great, delicious foods that are, maybe served up in a New York City restaurant, for example. So that's kind of how I came up with the name. I'm passionate about food and agriculture and sustainability. And as a recipe developer for, I guess, the last 5 years, and also a vegetarian for over 13 years, I've really experimented with vegan cheese recipes and ultimately, while in graduate school earning my MBA in social impact, realized that there was a gap in the marketplace for dairy-free cheese alternatives and decided to pivot from food blog to CPG company.
I was vegan for 6 years, long time ago. There were not the options that there are now. There was a lot, and probably still is a lot of bad vegan cheese out there. But a lot of it, the base of things has changed significantly. Like nut-based stuff, it was mostly soy. And like texture was wrong. And so we've like learned a lot about like how to make things more palatable. Of course, impossible burgers, even at fast food restaurants, have become more of a thing. So it's become a lot more mainstream. You don't just have soy milk, you have almond milk, cashew milk, pistachio milk, coconut milk. Like there's so many different kinds of milk I mean, technically, you can't say milk, just like I know you can't say cheese on your package. You'll get some people coming after you if you do that. But you mentioned something about regenerative farming. And I love that because, one, I don't know that a lot of people, I think they could guess what it is, but you have experience being on a farm. And so, why don't you tell people just a little bit about what regenerative farming is? And then, if we want to talk about Interstellar, that movie with Matthew McConaughey, we can talk about it.
Regenerative agriculture is the best form of agriculture, in my personal opinion. So basically, the concept is you do not till the soil. So when you till and churn the soil, you release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere because the soil actually retains carbon dioxide. And regenerative is the process of working with the land, making the land more nutrient dense, more rich, and planting within the pre-existing like grasses or cover crops or things that have been planted there previously that exist there. And it's really just about capturing carbon, retaining carbon, and not emitting it into the atmosphere. And there's various forms of regenerative agriculture, meaning you can have a farm that's just vegetable based and you're only growing that and you are not tilling the soil. Or you can have a more diverse farm where you also have cattle and
That's what I was
chickens and
thinking.
ducks. Yeah, which is also extremely common for regenerative agriculture because then the cattle will graze on the, uh, I guess, plot X, for example,
Mm-hmm.
that had corn and soy and whatever else on it for a period of time last season. And they will actually like churn the soil naturally with their hooves, which is better and just like kind of naturally regenerates the soil health.
And they poop on it,
Yes, and they
which
do.
is helpful. Like, you think about fertilizer, there's so many different like chemical options now. Poop is the best fertilizer. And I'm not saying go out and poop in your yard. You might get in trouble, and so we do not condone that here. Unless you live on a huge farm and that's what you want to do and your neighbors can see you. But like, it's crazy how we have come so far, but it seems like for the longest time, for the sake of technology and just people, the number of people that we have, we've made all these advances, but it takes time to know how that will truly impact people and the planet. And I think we've found a lot of that out.
Yeah. And there's also lots of microbes in the soil and lots of microbes in cow manure that then like benefits the soil long term. Whereas when you're, practicing like conventional
Mm-hmm.
agriculture, sort of part of big ag, you're just spraying pesticides, you're killing all of the microbes, you're killing everything in the soil, you're degrading the topsoil through tilling it. And ultimately, the food's just not as nutritious because it's not coming from a nutritious source, and oftentimes there can be glyphosates in the food, which is, carcinogenic, it's cancer causing. And it's really shocking to see a lot of these CPG products and reports come out about how many glyphosates are actually in like a box of cereal, for example.
There's a brand called Malk that you've probably heard of, and they had that huge ad in Times Square that just said no glyphosate. I think that was pretty much it. And then it was like Malk. That's it. Which to me is cool because people are thinking either I know what glyphosate is, that's amazing, I want to go check this out, or people are probably like, what the hell is glyphosate? And then they go and find out, and they're like, oh, I've used Roundup before. That's not that's not good. But like the farming that used to happen, you're rotating plots, so you're not overusing the soil. Topsoil, so important, so important, and that's getting depleted. That's why I
Hmm.
brought up Interstellar. I mean, we had been joking about that before, but like the world turns into a dust bowl because we lose topsoil and we can't plant, and the ground has no more nutrients because we've stripped it of just like you say, conventional farming, just going over and over and over again, planting the same stuff for the sake of volume.
Yeah, and I do think that some farmers they tend to lean towards something like corn that's subsidized by the government
Sure.
because they know that they're going to get a payout from that. Whereas if they were to diversify their farms and kind of go out on a ledge and try a new practice, they could likely increase the amount of economic value that their land has in the long run. But a lot of these farmers are playing it safe, which I understand because your livelihood is
Sure.
at stake and you have families and whatnot. But there are various individuals going around and educating farmers on regenerative agriculture and these practices that if we as a like an entire globe decide to switch to regenerative agriculture, we could sequester 100% of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So it's just something so strong and so simple that I think gets overlooked very often.
If only we could just change like that. And I think part of it is just like we don't know the impact of some things. It takes time for people to come around. And to your point, like your livelihood's on the line. There are very few percent of people that are farmers that feed a plethora of people, and super hard work, not necessarily the most rewarding work, not the most compensation. So to go in, one, you've got this supply chain of people that are relying upon you for food, but then also you want to feed your family and get money for your crops. It's a challenging thing. That's a business. It's a really challenging thing to just say, we're going to totally switch, things over. Although it would be nice or better, but like takes time, takes people willing to take risks. Do you have other people that are going to support you in that? Like there's a lot to think through in that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I guess so when it comes to our products, Cashew Parm, we source fair trade organic cashews that are carbon negative when harvested, or you could say carbon positive, meaning they take in more carbon and retain that carbon. They're not emitting carbon. So they're not harming from a climate perspective, right? They're benefiting climate change. And then we also source organic ingredients. So our products are just, they're shelf stable, they're more sustainable because they don't have to be refrigerated. Actually, annually, the grocery channel emits 25% of refrigerants, which are also known as hydrofluorocarbons, which can be up to 9,000 times more impactful than carbon dioxide. So, inherently, just having a shelf stable product, even after you open it, it doesn't have to be refrigerated. Sourcing the best ingredients via our supply chain that are coming directly from the farmers to the United States to then be processed into our products. And of course, organic ingredients. So, mitigating those pesticides that would be used in conventional agriculture. Our products are very sustainable. And at some point down the line, I cannot wait to do a life cycle analysis to hopefully become carbon neutral at some point.
You and I were talking about product packaging. I'm just making a hard pivot right here. I'm calling it out now. But you were talking about product packaging and how in the early days, a couple of years ago, your products were not retail ready. And a lot of people might know what that is. A lot of people might not. But product packaging is crucial from a logistical standpoint, but also from an attention grabbing standpoint. And we've talked about this a lot on the longer game, just organically coming up. Tell people about like your experience with product packaging, because I think a lot of brands can commiserate with that because, correct me if I'm wrong, you started this brand not because you necessarily wanted to run a business or deal with product packaging or finances or all this stuff. It was a passion from food and from farming. So if I'm wrong, tell me, but what was that experience like for you? Just one, realizing what retail ready meant, then that your product was not retail ready and like, okay, great. Now how do I get this figured out?
So, Farmer Foodie initially launched with a logo that was a sunflower. You couldn't really read the font inside that said the Farmer Foodie, not just Farmer Foodie. So it was a great first step for our food blog to have that logo. I decided to use that logo for our first round of packaging. Our cashew parm is now packaged in a shaker container. So if
Love it.
anyone's watching, this is golden cheddar, and it used to be called everything cheese with a Z because the thought process is you can mix it into water, turn it into a mac and cheese sauce, a queso, or a spread. You can really use it on top of things, bake it on chicken and fish. You can just, it's so versatile and has so many uses that that's the name I came up with.
I just thought that was your
And
rapper name. Everything Cheese.
That's actually, yeah, that could be
It's
it.
a pretty dope name, I got to say. I might
I
take it
own
if
the
you know.
trademark.
Okay, there you go. So I can't take it. You should. That should be your rapper name. Now presenting Everything Cheese. I don't know who would present you like that, but
um, but the concept came from my own recipe for a vegan mac and cheese that I was eating all throughout graduate school. I decided the box mac and cheese category was very saturated, so I pivoted very like close to the date that I launched. March 10th, I pivoted to cashew parm from a boxed mac and cheese concept. And then I launched Golden Cheddar, which was everything cheese, May 17th. So just a couple months later. So you can imagine sort of me as a new founder, yes, graduating with my MBA, but not knowing much about the retail space or branding or,
yeah.
just even graphic design, scrambling to try and figure out, okay, well, what's the packaging going to be? What's the manufacturing going to be? Is there a specific packaging type for the manufacturer that's more beneficial? What do I call this? And it was a great first iteration, in my opinion. It was a great starting point. It was a product that I brought to farmers markets. 2022, our leading sales channel was farmers markets. That was a great way to gain market acceptance, consumer feedback, trials. And also, I pitched in the Nosh Live Pitch Slam
Okay.
in June 2022. So, probably 1 month after I launched my product. And the judges were, various individuals from Kroger's or branding experts or just people that are so established in the industry. And their feedback was, we love the product. It tastes fantastic, but your packaging and your branding does not articulate what the use case is to consumers, and it's not retail ready. So I made it from the semifinals to the finals because they loved the product, but ultimately didn't win because it wasn't retail ready. And that really got me thinking. And all throughout the summer of 2022, I interviewed probably 20 branding agencies and then ultimately went with Ruthless and Wellington in Burlington, Vermont. They're a woman-owned branding agency I was connected to actually through a mentor of mine at Oatly at the time. And we went through the entire process, naming, logo, product hierarchy, and, even just like the packaging.
Packaging is something that can feel like an afterthought. And honestly, good on you that your actual product inside was great. It was just figuring out how to represent that on the outside, because certainly you could have something terrible on the inside and packaging looks great. It doesn't really do anything for you. So, and it's I think shelf stable vegan cheese, everything cheese, there's not a lot of brands out there. Or are there even any other brands that are doing what you're doing?
There are a few brands.
Okay.
So currently we sell at Whole Foods, on Amazon, Big Y. We're in specialty retailers. We're on Thrive Market. So like, for example, Thrive Market at one point had their own private label cashew Parmesan type alternative.
Okay.
Whole Foods, there's a couple local brands. We're a local forager brand. There's also one nationwide brand. And then on Amazon, there's one leading competitor and a couple of other brands, but it is still a very small market category. And I do think that Farmer Foodie, with its new branding and packaging and flavor profiles, which are very unique, we don't just have like your classic Parmesan flavor. They're all kind of versatile and different. I like to say they shake things up.
That's great.
Out.
Yeah, I love that. What if it was just shake things up? That could be your logo. Anyway, or not logo, your slogan. Who cares? Who cares what I have to say? I think the packaging makes such a difference from a retail standpoint. Certainly you can grab people's attention on Amazon or on your website, and you want to have a good first image, good click through. And there's things you can do to like make your logo or your label look a little bit better, make certain things stand out on the label and remove other stuff in a virtual setting. When it comes to retail, there's a lot of products on the shelf. So you're competing for just eyes in general, but then is it going to ship correctly or well and not incur chargebacks at a retailer? Is it going to fall apart easily? Like there's all these things that you just don't think about, but you have so little time to get somebody's attention. Coming around with a shopping cart, walking around, boom, like that was it. I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
people are thinking about that. And even with a more unique product like yours, just being no one knows what it tastes like until they pick it up, until they use it. And you want to get people to feel maybe the way they would feel when they're actually tasting your product. The packaging is like that's everything.
Yeah, I guess they say that consumers will give you virtually 3 seconds before making a decision if they want to purchase your product or not. So throughout the rebrand, I was actually looking to Wolfer Estate Vineyard because I really like their summer in a bottle rosé and the branding. They have sort of like all of these botanical elements, and it's a see-through bottle, so you can see the pink rosé coming through, and
Okay.
it kind of just like provokes like a nice feeling, like summer's here, let's have a glass of rosé and enjoy nature together. And so during our rebrand, I spoke to my agency a lot about that, and they came up with the botanical element sort of floral features on the front of our packaging. And I loved it. My only feedback was we should include cashew leaves, flowers, and cashew apples.
I like the
And that,
depth.
yeah, and I don't know if you can see, but those are the cashew apples, and the
Okay.
cashews are coming out. These are the cashew flowers and the leaves.
It's just enough of a bold statement to differentiate, but it also matches well with the actual color of the product too.
Oh yeah, that this color scheme with the golden cheddar because of the turmeric. That's actually why I decided on golden cheddar because golden milk turmeric. I feel like people are familiar with that. The yellow color scheme is great, and then we also launched through the rebrand our Italian herb flavor, and so this is more like oregano undertones, greens, red pepper flakes. But the reason why I decided to launch Italian herb is because we trademarked cashew parm, right? You go to a restaurant, you order eggplant parm, you order chicken parm. I can't call this parmesan because it's a dairy free alternative. Or I could say, this is a dairy free alternative to parmesan, a very long
You
statement on
lost
a
me.
very
You
small
lost me.
pack.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to launch Italian herb because I needed something that kind of provoked that more parmesan feel. Whereas when you're roaming around in a retail store, cheddar powder doesn't really exist. You can't just buy like a container of cheddar powder like you can parmesan. If you want a cheddar powder, you order it online or you buy it
You buy a
like via.
box of macaroni and cheese and get the and get the powder on the inside. I don't know why you would make a milkshake or something out of that. I don't know what you would do, but I guess technically anybody could have a golden cheddar latte if they wanted to. The savory,
Yes, I would not suggest that.
more savory. Have you tried it?
No, but
Just seems like it, but you never know. You could be onto something.
yeah, okay. I'm gonna ship you some. You try it and
Okay,
you let me
I'll
know.
I'll let you know for sure. I think the depth that you're going into and thinking about those things, like I love that. People probably aren't gonna ask what is this on there, but it just there's a story. I mean, maybe they will, but there's a storyline through that. I think then once people start to hear that, hear more about your story, how things started, like that gives them an opportunity to really engender someone to you and just fall in love with the brand. I love everything this brand stands for. I love their products. That's like how you get a customer for life, or just from a metric standpoint, increase lifetime value. They like golden cheddar. They trust you now that your product is good. All right, well, I'm going to try Italian herb.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're also on Amazon. And last year, 2024, Amazon was our leading sales channel. It was really great for Farmer Foodie and our growth. And we do offer a lot of sales where it's buy one, get one 10% off because we're trying to promote, that trial. Consumers who are constantly buying Italian herb, maybe they subscribe and they get one Italian herb unit in the mail every 2 months. Like they likely enjoy golden cheddar as well. So it's just a good strategy, in my opinion, for consumer trials.
What about combo packs? Have you thought about combo packs?
I have. And I've also looked into kitting combo packs. So that would be necessary for us to actually launch 2 packs on Amazon, which It does say that 2 packs are an option, but we've never actually launched it, so it's not currently available. But it's really because I need somebody to kit them together. That way it's just, the Amazon shoppers pick it, they pack it, they ship it, done.
I don't like this option. You can do a virtual bundle if you wanted to test, but it's not going to be, it's a totally separate listing. You're limited on what you can run advertising to it on the Amazon side of things. So a physical bundle is always going to be preferred. And part of that is just because of how Amazon operates from a search standpoint. You look for something and there's something that's closer to you, it may show up higher in search results than the item that is not. Delivery promises change based on how close they are to you. Someone wants something for dinner tonight and they see that they can get something between 12 and 4 versus tomorrow, they may be buying the competitor. So like putting it into Amazon fulfillment centers typically makes it Prime eligible, typically has a higher conversion rate. Anyways, in some cases, increases of 70% conversion rate from being fulfilled by you versus fulfilled by Amazon. But the number one seller for most CPG products are like combo variety packs, because people, like, you look at like a Quest chip or something like that. People want to try all the flavors to see what they want before they commit to a 12 or 24 pack of something, which is way more economical for people. But those combo packs are huge because then people do get to try what they like and they get more exposure to the brand.
I've actually been exploring sachet manufacturers, co-packers. So, think like a taco packet, but cashew parm would be inside. And we could have, if we were to introduce a third flavor, we could have, let's say, 3 sachets per flavor, grab and go, take them to the office, put them on your salad at lunch, use them kind of wherever you need at any time because they're shelf stable. And then you also get the benefit of trying multiple flavors, though finding a sachet manufacturer has been extremely difficult. So if anyone listening manufactures sachets with low minimum order quantities, please feel free to email me.
Low MOQs, sachets, Elliott, she needs your help. By the way, if anyone doesn't realize, we're just having an Amazon strategy session right now. This is what it looks like behind closed doors, but now out in public.
Exactly. And Amazon has been really great. Our return on ad spend has been above 1.5 pretty much since we began advertising. From a launch strategy, the first couple of months, we wanted to build up at least 50 reviews. And we had all of our products listed on 4 different product detail pages. So we have the 6-packs, 2 flavors, 2 pages, the singles, 2 pages, 2 flavors. And then once we got cumulatively 50 reviews, we then merged them all into one page. And our Italian herb cashew parm has been ranked probably, 3rd, 4th, 5th best for plant-based cheese on Amazon since January of 2024.
That's great. Now we just got to go after that number 1. We need to get to number 1. And then you need to grow in the category, not just plant-based cheese, but then shelf-stable cheese, then food and beverage, grocery and gourmet, number 1. Here we come. I think the like ROAS comment that you made, a lot of people think about advertising in a way that inhibits their capability to grow. What I mean by that is I audit brands every single week and they might have a better ROAS, a 4-to-1. But then you look at their sales and they did 3 million last year. Now they're doing 2.5 million this year. Why is that? There's levels, just we talked about, like there's things that you just don't know that you don't know when you get involved in retail. You start digging into advertising, you realize, all right, well, like campaign structure is not really set up correctly. Got a lot of targets, small budget. Amazon's going to auto-optimize based on the things that spend the most. Yeah, it's not set up very well. And then you're like, oh, and you're also like just doing a bunch of broad targeting and just what I call discovery spend. That's not going to help you rank. That's not going to help you grow market share, especially in more competitive categories. But people say, yeah, but my ROAS is a 4-to-1. Great. What's your goal? Get the best ROAS? Or is it to grow your market share? Because as you grow your market share, you can get more visibility, and that will ultimately help you to find efficiencies because you've got more top line. Now you've got that velocity going, the flywheel. You can start to bring down some of your costs and find efficiencies in places or determine what you need to keep spending on. And then that improves your profitability. But maybe your percentage your profit percent is better. But if I could sell $1 million and make a profit of 250, so 25% margin, versus selling, I don't know, 200 and making a profit of 100,000, my profit percent is higher, but my contribution margin is much higher than $1 million. Now, at a certain point, you have to realize is it worth the juice worth the squeeze, or the cheese worth the squeeze? I don't know. Insert catchy slogan here, but like, you have to think about what your end goal is to get where you want to go. And so, if we're trying to rank on a term like vegan cheese, if that one campaign is set up correctly, and we have a 1.5 ROAS or even a 1.25, that's not my metric for determining if this campaign is successful or not. It's where do we show up organically? What is our share of purchases? Are we top clicked and converted? All those things are things that we'll look at because that tells us that we're winning in the market. But like, a lot of people just limit themselves by saying, I need to get a good return, to which I always ask, why? And a lot of times it's like, well, because that's good. I'm like, okay, it's good. Why? So I like your perspective on that you're like growing, putting the brand on there, going after the things that you need to go after.
Yeah, and so we've actually consistently been investing about $1,000 per month on ads. So of course we're making that money back with a ROAS above 1, which is beneficial. And I say more recently our ROAS was 1.5, maybe 2, whereas previously it has been 2, 2.5. It varies. It depends. Are there new competitors entering the market? Who's bidding on specific search terms? Like you said, who's trying to own keywords, key terms? And so it's kind of just, it's not like you set it and forget it. You have to continue to think about the campaigns. They need to evolve. You can outgrow them. They can outgrow you. Like, you have to sort of like be on your game, and the budget, like I said, hasn't necessarily changed, but our strategy has changed on and off at various points in time.
I think also it's a great point. Things will change. Things will evolve. Maybe some terms hit harder now, and 6 months from now, they may not. But a lot of times it just comes down to like relevancy. Is this the right target? Is this something I should be going for? If you try to rank on the term cheese, you just throw money in the garbage, because is there high intent for your product when people search cheese? Probably not. They're looking for cheese, but it's also a super competitive term. Why would you want to do that if you can't invest $1 million a month seriously in that term, or something that's super competitive like that? It's probably not worth it to go after it, because you're not going to get the velocity that you need. But also, if you were advertising on the term Farmer Foodie, people that are looking for your brand, of course, you're going to have a higher ROAS on that target, because the intent is super high looking for your product. But if you're on an unbranded term, there's more competition. Like, all that matters when you look at metrics. Like, just the intention behind what you're looking at, and the intention, the goal that you're trying to get to will determine what your KPIs are, or they should at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for example, I've previously thought to myself, oh, so should Farmer Foodie, a dairy-free vegan brand, be targeting other vegan products in other categories like mushroom jerky or impossible meat? Would that be beneficial for us? Because if somebody's on Amazon shopping for a meat alternative, the likelihood of them being vegan or eating a more lactose-free diet or a more flexitarian, sustainable, climate sort of impactful diet is higher. But we've never actually done that. But it's a thought that I throw around very often. And it would be interesting to test at some point when we have more money to spend. But, our products are unique. If you're going to Amazon and typing in vegan cheese, vegan Parmesan, you're probably looking for a product that you're going to purchase. And I think that's one reason why Amazon has been a success for Farmer Foodie.
You mentioned something which is something we've implemented before. You certainly are going to need more budget, but part of the reason you're going to need more budget is because you're now going across into a different aisle. So there is higher intent than if someone were looking at beef potentially, but still not out looking for vegan cheese product, although there's a greater likelihood that they would purchase. So you're going across the aisle. You're looking for that new to brand customer, which I think is super smart. It's just going to cost more because your conversion rate is probably going to be a little bit lower. But you bring that person in, they buy a product, maybe they buy a multi-pack, and then they start getting unsubscribe and save for the item that they like. Like, you have to think about what your customer acquisition cost is compared to your lifetime value. Because if your customer acquisition cost is $10 and your product costs $10, that feels like it doesn't net out. But if your lifetime value is $50, well, then that's way different. That's how a lot of CPG brands win on Amazon. They're super aggressive in the beginning. They win that first sale. People love the brand, love the product, and now they've got a customer for life. I would also recommend, you can see there's so much data that's available now. You can go and look at market basket analysis and see what are other people looking at or purchasing with my product. It could be your other product, but they might be purchasing mushroom jerky. And that would tell you, hey, here's a great place to start advertising to get visibility for this product. And you probably make your money go further. Conversion rate would be higher because conversion rate, CPC, all those things affect ROAS. If your conversion rate's really low, you're naturally not going to get more sales. And so that means you're going to spend more on clicks than you're going to get conversions. And so your return on ad spend is going to be a lot lower. But like market basket analysis can tell you, hey, there is actually someone looking for paper towels that bought your product. Okay, well, maybe we want to show there because people are in the home, pantry type vibe today. And so they're going and purchasing stuff. But there's so many ways that you can get that information and then go and say, hey, let's test this. And then you won't know until you test.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. I think testing is important, and it's also important in retail. So we have a few specialty stores where our products have previously lived in two places. So on the shelf next to pasta sauce, next to shelf stable Parmesan, which is traditionally dairy based. That is our category. But then sometimes they'll put it in the plant-based refrigerator section. And again, this is a specialty store, so there's more flexibility when it comes to dual placement. And other times it'll be in the spice aisle. And I was actually doing a demo at the Assabet Co-op Market on Saturday. It was their plant-based party. And I didn't realize, but our products are placed next to the spices and in the pasta sauce aisle. So that also just increases, I guess, more eyes on the product. And currently, since we're a forager brand at Whole Foods, we're in 45 North Atlantic stores. Our products are in multiple places. They're on this 4-way merchandiser that moves, and it's got a huge local sign. So it's highlighting the fact that our brand is made locally. And then it's also still continuously in the pasta sauce aisle, which I think that the branding comes into play again because typically the Parmesan set is very high. So you actually have to be able to see it and sort of be captivated by it to know about it, want it, grab it, buy it.
I heard someone recently, I saw on LinkedIn, I'm not good with the senses. English is not my first language, but they were saying don't develop packaging in a bubble or in a vacuum. And it showed a bunch of packaging, and I think it was a Sprouts. And there was like clearly one winner in this category that like their packaging stood out. Your eyes were instantly drawn to them because hopefully it seems like they did research on what is all on the shelf here. Are we going to stand out from these people? So if you're with a bunch of bland stuff, you've got the advantage of a product that looks nice and stands out, and cashew parm, like that's different. What is that? Now you get someone to pick up your product. Like that engagement is incredible.
And going off of that, I mean, just thinking about the actual size of the container. So typically you buy dairy-based Parmesan in an 8-ounce net weight bottle that's very large in comparison to our container. Mm-hmm. So sitting right next to it, you can tell, okay, it's premium priced, it's dairy-free, it's organic, it's a smaller container. All of that kind of lines up. But I believe I was in Boise, Idaho for a pitch competition in 2022 maybe. And I went to a Kroger and I saw a plant-based Parmesan on the shelf in an 8-ounce container, but the net weight wasn't 8 ounces because it wasn't filled up all the way.
Oh.
So it was purposefully not filled up all the way. That way it looked similar in comparison, I guess, to the dairy-based Parmesan. But I thought to myself, I want my products to be full to
I didn't see any air in there, Allie. You packed that thing to the brim.
It is.
Yeah, I love that. I think I get the thought behind that, but I feel like it probably falls short with a consumer.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you get a bag of chips and you're like, oh, it's half air. But I mean, it's half air so that they don't crumble, I guess, in transit. Or they go up in an airplane and they puff up.
That is a business idea. Literally, full bag of chips. That's the brand name. Full bag of chips, and you give them a full bag of chips. You charge them for it, but you give them a full bag of chips, and they will not. I mean, you're going to have to figure something out with the package. Maybe it's like a steel container. I don't know, but I love that.
That's a good idea, though.
Okay, we'll talk business plans later. Allie, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you just sharing your story, kind of some of the things you've gone through as a brand. Hopefully people that are listening get a better idea of maybe knowing some of the things that they don't know. If people want to know more about what you're doing, where should they look? Like on a farm where cows are tilling up the soil and like checking the hooves? Or like where would you recommend people come to find out what you're doing?
Yeah, so people can visit thefarmerfoodie.com. We're also, of course, on Amazon. We're at Whole Foods, Big Y, various retail stores. We're on Thrive Market. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. So pretty much the Farmer Foodie across the board.
Love it. All right, people. Well, that's all. We don't have anything else, so don't got to go home, but just got to get out of here. Bye. All right, that was the show. What did you think? That was the longer game. We would love for you to share the show with other people and to leave us a review of the show. So go to iTunes, go to Spotify, you can go to YouTube, comment, leave a review, and share this on any social channels that you are active on and wherever you have influence. We want to share this story and stories like it to as many people as possible. Do you have a compelling story and do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it and you're in the retail industry? Then go to thelongergame.com, fill out a form, and we will contact you about coming on the show. You can find us on any social channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can go to our website, thelongergame.com, to actually read all of these episodes in blog form in text, because we know not everyone's going to listen. This podcast is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We are a customized, done-for-you service agency that helps brands win on Amazon. It is super complex selling on the Amazon Marketplace. We help simplify that for you. This podcast is also brought to you by Podcastify Me. They are a full-service podcast production company that designs podcasts around people who are paid for their advice. That is coaches. If you want someone to help create, strategize, and distribute your podcast to the masses, go to podcastify.me to find out more. I've so enjoyed that you've been a part of the conversation and that you've given of your time to hear these people's stories. We'd love for you to share. If you want to find out more, just go to thelongergame.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. And until next time, cheers.